Barkley responded to that and said, probably not the smartest thing to say when you're coming to Philly. Eagles beat the Rams by 17 back in November. Here's Sean McVay on the rematch Sunday.
There's a ton of respect that I have for him, the consistency at which he's done it, the way that, his guys play. There's an identity, there's a philosophy, but I think there's a flexibility like I talked to you guys about earlier in the year in terms of, all right, there's some foundational principles, but what fits this group? They're obviously at the top of the charts in every single metric that really matters. They're as good as it gets defensively. We know what a great challenge it's going to be and how little margin for error you have if you expect to consistently move the ball and ultimately finish drives against as good a defense as there is in this league, arguably the best.
Yeah, listen, the defense did a 180 this season under new coordinator Vic Fangio. Back in 2023, Philly's defense ranked third worst in points per game, red zone efficiency, and expected points added. This season, they ranked top 3 in points allowed, yards per play, expected points added. There's 17.8 points allowed this season, fewest since 2004, and you remember what happened that year. They went to the Super Bowl. So, Dan, what should the Rams' focus be offensively?
Well, when Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are on the same side in pass rush situations, they're a problem. Last time these two teams played, they were 0 for 8, the Rams offensively on third down. And you can't single either of them up. Now, they'll get into those wide kind of what we call 4 eyes, super wide defensive tackles. And if you go away from them, you create 2 one-on-ones. The Rams aren't good enough to handle either of these guys in one-on-one on a consistent basis. And Nolan Smith's quickness beats you. Number 2 is when they get so wide, Nolan Smith super far, you go double Carter, well, that leaves Nolan Smith one-on-one. And so that's the challenge if you're the Rams, is when they get super spread out as a defensive line, how do they handle it from a one-on-one or 2-on-2 situation? Because you can't feel good with either of your guards or tackles. Carter now at that 3 technique. Watch the quickness, and he goes all the way across, and he'll split you if you don't make sure that you chip in some capacity. The double, the width that they play in these pass rush situations, and then Nolan Smith on the edge. I don't think you can go empty that much if you're the Rams. This is something very much so to pay attention to in this game. When those two guys are on the same side in those obvious passing situations, it's almost like you got to send 3 or 4 guys that way if you're the Rams to give yourself a chance to get the ball off.
Well, you know what would be good too, Dan? If you never gotten those third and obviously passing or third and long situations.
Amen.
And I think if you Sean McVay and you go watch that film last week, you can tell that the best player for the Green Bay Packers was Josh Jacobs. And I believe Kyren Williams is someone we don't talk about enough if you're the Los Angeles Rams. I believe he averaged over 4.5 yards a carry against the Philadelphia Eagles in the first meeting. And he's the type of player that can sort of mitigate or keep you out of these very dangerous situations when it comes to the Eagles pass rush. And I think you get him going. Now you move into the play action pass, and you can allow Sean McVay to be creative, not only in the way that he schematically attacks them on the back end, but the way that he uses the play action pass to block up, whether it's Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter. That all starts with Kyren Williams and the ability and willingness to call runs consistently early in this game and on early downs.
Yeah, I think that they can have more success with Kyren Williams in this one, Ryan, in part because the absence of Nakobe Dean means that Vic Fangio can't lean on those 5-1 fronts, I believe, to the same degree he has been. The Eagles' defense has been so fantastic against the run. So I bet there's going to be a feeling out period with Sean McVay to see how he approaches stopping the run. That chess match, I think, in the first quarter is going to be key. But this offense runs through Puka Nacua. It ran through Puka Nacua all season when he was healthy. It ran through Puka Nacua in this game. And they had a lot of success, especially when he was aligned tight to the formation, and then they used motion to get him leverage or to fool the Eagles defense, as you see here. Whether or not they can do the same thing and also stay out of those third longs where you're getting negative plays and sacks on Stafford, that I think will probably determine whether or not they can keep up with this Eagles offense.
Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Rams almost decide to have 2 different game plans in this game early on. And depending on how Philadelphia lines up and plays them, Sean will go no huddle. He'll have a plan for if they're going to play 5-1, and maybe it's Zach Bond where Dean was and somebody else like a Trotter up at the line of scrimmage. We'll get to this certain stuff, no huddle. Or if they're going to keep Bond off and only play that 4-man front, they'll get to a different kind of no huddle stuff. That's something that, I mean, a great point of just paying attention to how Philly can play it early on will be a big tell.
I feel like we almost haven't paid enough attention to the Nakobe Dean injury. His emergence as the middle linebacker and green dot on that defense was huge for Vic Fangio's defense. And losing him last week, especially during this playoff run, is going to be big for them to feel.
Yeah, he just absolutely flourished this year under Fangio. And you're right, that could be very significant. All right, time now for an ESPN Bet Sportsbook same-game parlay. And for that, back to Mina. Okay, Mina, over under 199.5 passing yards for Jalen Hurts in this one.
I'm going under here. Jalen's only topped this one in his last 5 starts, and I think that the Eagles are going to lean on a very run-heavy game plan against a Rams defense that has some vulnerability, not just against the run, but against the type of runs that the Eagles like to do.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. All right, let's talk total scrimmage yards for Saquon. Over under 126.5.
Yeah, the flip side of my earlier point is over, which is to say I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a big part of this offense. I also think in the passing game, but I mean, he ran for over 255 yards last time. I don't think he's going to achieve that, but I do think he's going to have another prolific day.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. Give us a player that you think finds the end zone on Sunday.
With Saquon Barkley, whether it's with the ball in his hands on the ground or as a pass catcher, going up against those Rams linebackers, Kellen Moore is going to give him the ball in the red zone.
I love it. The Eagles currently 6.5-point favorites at ESPN Bet.
All customers can get rewarded with a $5 bonus bet when you make a deposit of $25 or more at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Head over to the app and use code HUDDLE to get started today.
ESPN Analytics gives the Eagles a 65% chance of winning and has them projected to win by 6 points. Philly has won each of their last 8 home games, while the Rams have won each of their last 5 road games. So let's check out our picks. Everyone is on Philly except for Dan, and you know it's 20-17.
That's a good pick, Dan. That's not a bad pick, though, D.
Why are you going the other way, Dan?
He looks nervous.
I don't love it.
He looks nervous.
I just think there's going to be an upset. I think it's either Buffalo wins or the Rams win. There's going to be one. I don't feel great about it, but I went with it.
Okay, so there you go. Again, playing the percentages. Yes.
If the Rams win, that means Sean McVay coached his absolute butt off. That Sean McVay really got in his bag.
Which, as we know, he's very capable of doing. Yeah. All right, folks. Coming up.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Mình lại quay lại đây. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tô màu những sản phẩm này đây. Các bạn hãy xem thật kỹ nha. Đây là những sản phẩm mình chưa tô. Những sản phẩm mình tô màu xong thì chắc chắn nó sẽ rất là đẹp. Tại vì mình có hộp sáp màu này này. Hộp sáp màu này của mình. Nó giúp mình tô màu rất là đẹp luôn. Và bây giờ các bạn cùng theo dõi mình tô màu những sản phẩm nha. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn.
Xin chào bạn, mình sẽ đi vào chi tiết đây. Tô màu như bạn này.
Không phải đây gì đâu mà không nào có hàng sức khỏe là như nào qua đấy nhiều vào đây rồi ăn rồi mà người ta đã bảo ăn rồi cũng tại cần phải không gian rộng để nó đẹp quá trình làm thì là nó ấy luôn mà từ gọi là có bàn như thế là mình cứ bảo đấy là sau đó nó xếp cái nồi lên kiểu là sau đó mình ngó là cái nhỏ rồi đúng không ở đây cũng như tài tích có cả nụ tai heo ok